course, Robotnik gotta always have something slick. That took care of that. Yo, shout out to whoever came into the YouTube right now watching this broadcast. I mean, it took them forever, like 20 something years, but we finally got another Sonic. I knew what was in that Robotnik box. I just didn't care. I really didn't care. I wanted to see what happens. I knew whatever it was bad, but wow. Okay, that just happened. On the floor. I forget they made this just like the game from the glory days of gaming. And here we go. This game definitely stays being hard. Boss battles is crazy. Got him. Like what's happening?
You know, it keeps on like having an error every time.
Yeah, it's probably your router.
Yeah. Because it kept disconnecting on my computer and shit. I was like, what the hell's going on? You know, we just had a thunderstorm just now.
Yeah, those will do it. And it's summertime, so those thunderstorms pretty tough. Thunder just be violent down here, bro. I'm like, it's crazy. Really don't like when it thunders over here. It's like the earth shakes when it thunders over here. Yo, but this game is definitely lit.
Word.
And it's longer than your original Sonics, because it's like 12 levels instead of your normal 6. Yeah, I'm streaming right now.
I'll probably download it later.
Well, it's definitely it's worth more, honestly, than the $20. But you can't go wrong. But you're definitely, you know. I figured, I was like, I'm pretty sure he even appreciates some Sonic.
Cool.
You?
Oh yeah.
What did you have? You know what? That's some stuff that people don't know about Mr. B. So since we're streaming, I'm gonna ask you some gaming. So, what was the first video game Mr. B ever owned and played?
Man. I would have to say Sonic. It was the Sega Genesis Sonic 2.
Oh, you had that bundle?
Yeah. I don't think I had a bundle.
I remember that bundle. Well, I remember the Sega Genesis came with Sonic 2 when Sonic 2 dropped. Cause me, I had Sega Genesis, but I got mine a little bit before Part 2 came out. So I had Part 1 that came with my Sega. Word, okay. And what other games did you like grow up with at that time?
A lot of Sonic, Mortal Kombat,
Blood Code having ass. Yes. ABACABB.
Actuality, we had a Nintendo in the house too.
The regular, the first NES?
Yeah, we had that. We had everything. We had Super Nintendo. We had a couple. We had a lot of stuff, man. But you know, we grew up a lot on you know, the stars of Nintendo, like Mario, Kirby. I didn't really get into Zelda until I was in the teens. Like, I can't see it when they started really moving it to Game Boy Advance. I was a real major Game Boy Advance head. Like, I had a friend named Nicholas, and we bought like mad Game Boy Advance shit. Like, I was a big fan of the Mega Man Battle Network series at the time. Then we got to the point we started using GameSharks and shit, and we were able to beat that shit without paid, because we were able to do everything and do everything. But I'm still to this day a huge Game Boy Advance fan. Games they've made at that time, yeah, it's like in 2D and some sprites and stuff like that, but it's still fucking great.
Nah, that was the golden era of gaming. I mean, some people would argue and be like, oh no, the late 80s, early 90s were, and it's like, okay, to an extent, you know, Nintendo revolutionized gaming as far as the household, but Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo took it to the next level in a way that I don't even think it's been seen again like that. Like, I remember them days. I mean, me, I know I have early stages with Zelda. I had Zelda Part 2 on NES. I actually didn't even play Part 1 till later, way later. But I had Part 2. I remember a cousin of mine came through the house with the Nintendo with Zelda 2, and I was like, I'll be honest, my mind was blown, because it would be like this little guy walking around in a map, but in Part 2, if you touch the enemy, you would end up going into like 2D action. And Part 1 didn't have that. In Part 1, you were little the whole time, and you were fighting on that little map. Here, you landed on a spot, and then the screen goes black, and you appear in a bigger version of that environment. And you had your magic, your XP, all of that. But honestly, that was the only RPG I was into growing up. Everything else was like beat 'em ups, wrestling, which, you know, at the time I liked WrestleMania, but let's be honest, that game compared to what came after it is horrible. Like, compared to WrestleMania, like the Sega Genesis one, Super WrestleMania, and then the Super Nintendo's WrestleMania, like, that game, I don't know, I liked it because you had your 8-bit versions of the wrestling themes, and, you know, nobody had seen that before, where they had themes. The more I think about gaming, I'm like, damn, bro, I've been alive a while. You too, because Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo.
Oh, PlayStation. The first two games I got when PlayStation 1 came out, I know it had the X-Men vs. Street Fighter. I know that was one of them. I forgot what was the other game, but I was really heavy on fighting games at that point. You know, I always loved fighting games.
That was the glory days of fighting games.
Especially to have me and my mom are like big X-Men fans. Like, you know, my mom used to buy the X-Men series. They had the old X-Men series. They had all the video tapes. I have a bunch of them actually at the house. Like, I just collecting dust at this point. I don't have all of them, but, you know, I have a lot of them. From the first episode all the way up to, like, a certain point. Like, I have them as VHS. And I have VHS players. I might play one of them one day.
That's crazy. I was a big X-Men fan too, but I was just as much a Spider-Man fan as well.
Yeah, yo, the fucking animated series that...
I had the game on Genesis.
Yo, I remember. No, I remember.
You don't remember? It'll be like, you turn it on and it's like, Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
I remember.
Yeah. I mean, the graphics weren't crazy or anything, but it was a fun game. I mean, graphically, X-Men had the better game, especially Part 2 with Clone Wars.
Clone Wars is one of the best games of all time.
That shit still go hard.
Yeah, because I got it as a emulator on the emulator. It still plays amazing to this day. I love that game.
I have it on emulator as well.
Yeah, like yeah, but when it came down to PlayStation, I got to a point where I was getting into this Japanese shit, and these games are trash now. But I ended up getting Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22 and Dragon Ball Z Final Bout. And that was at the time when it
wasn't even popular to have Dragon Ball Z games in them days. Unless you were in Japan.
No, it wasn't. But then I was playing it one day at my boy P. Preda's plays out in what's it called, Baltimore. And I loved the game at the time. And he told me, like, you just can't just buy the game. You had to get a converter. And I actually had a game store. It was actually at what was it? Hudson Mall. Before it got turned into a GameStop. It was very
EBs?
It wasn't EB. It was like something like a Game Land. Something like Funko Land. It was the store after it got turned to Funko Land. It got turned to something else. But that's the mechanism. Like in the opening of the PS1, and we had to make this spin. This will spin, you take the disc out, then put the real disc you want to play in, and then it'll start the game. And like, I was able to play Japanese games and stuff. And what was so funny about the converter was a Game Shark.
It was a Game Shark.
Yeah, so I was able to use that shit to cheat on mad fucking games that I had already. That shit was, I think I had that shit lying around now. It wasn't like the actual Game Shark. It was a different type of brand. It was like a neon blue type of device, and it was in English, but it still translated. It made sure that the games that were in Japanese were able to be played on that American system. It was pretty good.
Yeah, you know, you can get it. You can get those games. You can get emulation.
Oh yeah. Like, I wasn't on to emulation at the time. You know, I didn't.
Oh no, neither was I.
I didn't even have my own computer at the time. Like, I didn't get my own computer until I was at least 17. You know, and then I didn't buy my own computer that I end up having now. So I was like in my 20s in college. So, you know, this is all during the time when I didn't have any of that shit. So I had to make do with actually buying the games and all types of other stuff. And it ended up being what it was to that day. So, yeah, man, gaming has been a part of my life for a while. It's been a part of my life to a point. I know my mother hates that I game so much. But now it's gotten to a point that, you know, how a lot of things have changed over time. You know, like, you got all this mobile gaming, you got Facebook gaming, you got all this stuff going on. I'm out playing bingo all the time, every day. So I'm just like, you know, no one can, you know, my mom can never ever, like, tell me.
Can't really get at you like that.
No, and especially that now I'm working, like, so much. I barely get the chance to really like sit down and play video games. Like I try to like go by a schedule, and you know things pop up and things you gotta do. And, you know, and, like it's kind of different for me now. I'm very motivated. I'm motivated by a lot more things, but I am getting Destiny 2.
Oh, I'm getting it. They announced that the single player campaign will take 50 hours to beat.
What?
Yeah. So I'm definitely getting it. They went in for single player this time.
Hopefully it's not, you don't have to play single.
No, you don't. It's online co-op.
Alright, good.
Yeah, so we could probably beat that shit together.
Yeah, that would be dope. I'm all for it.
I'm down,
you know,
yeah.
The thing that's going on with you and what's going on with me, with the working and all that other stuff. That's not gonna happen, you know. And you know, you got something on the way, you got your projects on the way, and I think we all need to focus on that. And back to the gaming thing, man. Man, like I said, like my favorite system of all time is the Game Boy Advance, because the memories I've had on that shit and the friendship I've cultivated having one, it was a happy time. I'll say that, you know. And the games, like I said, was great.
See, I was more. I mean, I had a Game Boy Advance eventually, but I had my thing was Game Boy Color.
I had that first. That's when I really started getting into that stuff. I got the Game Boy Color first. The first game I bought was Superman. Sad. Don't know why.
It was not as much. It wasn't as trash as the Nintendo 64 version.
No, it wasn't that type of shit. But yeah, like I just felt it was, like I said, right now, like, and also when I was able to hack a PSP. PSP is an underrated system. Do they even make sure the PSP go anymore? Like, what's
nah. Vita.
Vita, yeah, they don't make shit for that shit.
They just basically port several games from the PS4, depending what it is, and they do it like that. There's rumors that they're trying to come out with another handheld system. They want to compete with the Switch. You know how the Switch can be handheld?
Yeah.
They want to get like a converter that you could basically do the same thing. Take your PS4 games on the go. So it's not like you have to buy it for a certain system. If you own it on your PS4, you can own it on their device. Yeah, I saw the prototype for it. Let me see. Game Boy Advance. I had it for a little bit, but then I already had my own computer at that time, and at that time emulation was like just starting basically, and the Game Boy Advance was very easy to emulate for, so I actually had new Game Boy Advance games on my computer at that time. Like, I remember I had the Mario and Luigi saga, I had Sonic Advance Part 1, 2, and 3, I had Tekken, I had even Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, the Game Boy version.
Oh man.
No, I had a few games, but as far as good memories for me, like the best memories were during Sega Genesis and Nintendo. Like, everything was simple, life was simple, everything was dope. Music was dope, movies were dope, everything was just dope that time. Like, you realize we have mad things we can watch today, and with just 90 channels back then, we had all the best stuff just with 90 channels. I'm over here testing Tails out, because you could play as Sonic, Tails, or Knuckles, or Sonic and Tails, and you could do co-op basically.
Yeah.
But I'm not the only one into this game in this house. Tiff loves this game.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, Tiff. Oof. Yeah.
I was gonna say my mom passed away way before I even met you.
Oh my god, you know I don't know what I said that.
I know. But yeah, she's into it. But as far as this broadcast goes, people, this is all the time that I have right now. I just wanted to put y'all on to this classic, remade, retold, new levels, and some favorites return with new content.
Shout out to the people. It's supported by Sega. Sega didn't really put anything into this.
Nah, they just published it. That's all they did.
Yeah. And some teams who's very passionate about science wanted to put that together, and it's great. Like a lot of good reviews are coming out for it, and that's a good thing.
And to all of y'all who's sitting there saying, "Ooh, I don't want to play no kiddie game. I want to play something where I can shoot and blah blah blah." You suck at life. Your taste in gaming sucks. Have a wonderful night. This is your boy Fat Caesar once again.
This is Mr. B.
And this is the Indie Gold Gaming podcast that we do once in a while when there's something new and something that we want to put y'all on to. So till next time, we out.
Yes, sir.
And let me close this off. Thanks for all of y'all who've been watching.